We are now in the live coding session on data ingestion that we just reviewed. For the rest of this notebook, we will use a movie dataset from the Movie Lens website. The dataset we use should be in your folder for week 4 under a directory called Movie Lens. Please make sure you locate it before we get started. So I hope you're ready. Let's view the contents of that Movie Lens directory. Here we will use !ls and we'll say the Movie Lens in this directory /movie lens. I'll run that, and I see that I have the readme.txt, genome tags.csv, movies.csv, and some other CSV files in that directory. So let's actually view the contents of some of the files in this one. We'll use the cat command. Here I'll run the cat command and give movies.csv as the input to it. This will take a while. You'll know that it's running. If you see the star here right next to in, that means your kernel, the Jupyter kernel in the background, is processing the command that you've written. We are already seeing some partial output. We see that there are some comma-separated files in that directory, and we are running cat to display the contents of movies.csv file, and we will see that in there that there are many lines that are similar in format. They have the values for movie ID, title, and genres separated by commas. This is what they mean when we say comma-separated value. These three values, 8, for example, and Tom and Hawk 1995, and Adventure Pipe Children, are separated by commas, and they'll be turned into columns in our data frame when we go to load that. Let's go and check the first line in this in this output. We see that the first line is movie ID, title, and genres. These are the labels for the data columns that data frame will use. If they're not there, it's going to be simply indexed numerically. Now let's find out how many movies exactly by piping the output of this command into the WC command with the -L option. We see that there's about 27,000 something movies in this movie database. We can do the same thing to cat and see the number of data values or rows in there for tags.csv and ratings.csv as well, to make sure that the data is there and we understand the formatting of it. The fastest way of doing it would have been actually saying head -5 just to display the top 5 elements in that Movie Lens data file. Movies.csv. Oops. If I run this, I see that quickly I'll see that the first line is movie ID, title, genres, and we have one Toy Story, the first 4 lines. It gives us an idea about the elements in this data file. I can do the same for tags. We see that the column labels will be for the tags.csv when I loaded it, user ID, movie ID, tag, and timestamp. And the other file that we are interested in this notebook is called ratings. Let's also display the first 5 elements of that. We see that the columns are user ID, movie ID, rating, and timestamp. So now we will use pandas to read the data set and load it into a data frame. Now we know the data set is good. We understand the labels. We will start by loading the data into 3 data frames. Let's start by movies. Here we will take advantage of the read CSV function. We need to specify the separator for the data as a comma, but simply we say movies is my data frame object. pd.readCSV, we give the data file and the separator. And let's display the type of the movie is to see that it's a data frame. And we'll also see the top 5 elements in that data frame by using the head function. Here, I display the type to show that the type for movie is data frame object we created is of class data frame. And we use the head function of data frame to display the first 5 rows, which is the default for the head function. But we could have specified the number of rows. If I wanted to see more, I could have just said head 15. I'm changing that third line in 15 in my notebook. And if I rerun that, I'll see I can display that first 15 rows in the data frame. Now let's go ahead and load the other 2 CSV files in a similar way into a new data frame, into 2 new data frame objects called tags and ratings. We do the same. The tags here that we are reading the movie lens tags.csv that we checked, and separating them with the movie, with the commas, and we see the first 5 rows in there with using the head function. Same for ratings, and we see that it's executing in the kernel, and the in will get updated to probably to be 56 according to this notebook as the next sequential value numerically once it finishes execution. So here we do something special about parsing the dates for the ratings. We'll come to that when we talk about timestamps and how to work with those timestamps towards the end of this lesson. Here we see that actually ratings has finished and in was updated to 56, and we see the first 5 values as well. For current analysis, as I mentioned, the timestamps will come later. We will remove the timestamp column and we'll come back to it later on. So as you remember from our data frames discussion, we can use del ratings timestamp, give the index or label for that column, and drop it or delete it from the data frame. So ratings and tags won't have timestamps anymore. Okay, so we have 3 data frames. Now let's review how we can interact with the object using series and data frame functions. Let's first extract the first row in tags. It's space. The type of that first row we see is a series. And if we print that first row, we'll see that the user ID, movie ID, and tag are indexes for the values that we have for example, user ID 18. And if you are confused about these indexes, the same rule about the series applies. You can say row_0, which is our variable name for that series object, index, and it gives us the index values. And you can use those indexes to get the value indexed by that label. You can also do some Boolean operations. You can say, is rating in row 0? Can I get the rating out of it? As you see, the index has user ID, movie ID, and tag, so there's no rating there. So it will evaluate to being false. Now let's use some data frame functions to work with the data frame. We've already seen head. an index and column. To extract a series of rows, we need to provide an array of indices. So I'll go to tags and I'll give the indices with ilog, because remember there are so many different rows in this one until however many tags we had before. So tags.ilog, and we'll give it an array with the indices 0, 11, and 200 for the names of those rows. So if we do that, we'll see that we can extract just those values and select technically those values out of that data frame. So let's stop here and review some of the descriptive statistics in the next video before we go on with that live coding session.